When Snoop Dogg released his debut album, Doggy Style, with Death Row Records in 1993, the rapper probably had no idea that he would someday take over this label. Death Row Records was officially founded in 1991, and this label would play an influential role in defining and shaping the growth of hip-hop in the 90s and even to date. While Marion Suge Knight was the founder of the label, Dr. Dre, Dick Griffey, and rapper and producer D.O.C. were also instrumental in its creation. Suge knew many talents in the hip-hop world, and this was due to being a former bodyguard for Dr. Dre. Even though Suge Knight might have had an unconventional way of doing things, he had a clear vision to start a label that would act as the seat of hip-hop. When Dr. Dre left NWA and Ruthless Records, he joined Death Row and instantly began working on an album. The result was the album The Chronic, which instantly became the best thing any hip-hop head ever heard. Not only was it critically acclaimed, but it also sold over 11 million copies around the world. While this was great news for Dr. Dre, it was also the perfect start for Death Row, and this success allowed them to sign more artists.
On first so I can bust like a bubble. Compton and Long Beach together, now you know you in trouble, cause ain't nothing but a G thing, baby.
On Dr. Dre's album, Snoop Dogg somehow managed to achieve a considerable level of fame through features only. This fame became so huge that thousands of fans wondered when his album would be released. Eventually, on the 23rd of November 1993, Doggy Style was released, and even though it wasn't fully completed before its release, it still effortlessly beat Dre's album by going platinum 4 different times. It also sold over 11 million copies around the world and almost 1 million copies in its first week. This album's success naturally gave Snoop an improved role at Death Row Records, becoming one of the label's biggest and most influential artists. But this period would be eclipsed by something sinister that could jeopardize Snoop's dream of one day becoming the boss. In 1993, Snoop became the prime suspect in a murder case. At just 21 years old, he was arrested and charged with murder after one of his bodyguards, Malik or McKinley Lee, shot and killed a member of a rival gang. What tied Snoop to this murder was simple. Malik fired the shot while in Snoop's car, and he also is his bodyguard. It all started with an argument with a rival gang that sat outside Snoop's apartment, and when things got out of hand, Malik pulled out a gun and shot at the gang. As soon as this happened, Snoop hit the gas and drove as fast as he could, away from the crime scene. The victim was Little Smooth, a gangster whose real name was Philip Wonder Marion. The cops swarmed around Death Row Records, and Snoop was the #1 suspect. After the Video Music Awards in 1993, Snoop turned himself in and murder was the charge. The trial went on until 1996, and the rapper got off the hook on the plea of self-defense. It turns out that Malik had caught sight of a gun on Little Smooth, which put the lives of everyone at risk. It surely didn't help matters when the cops further discovered that a certain Jason London, a friend of Little Smooth, secretly removed the gun from the scene of the crime. In 2021, Malik confirmed that there really was a gun that could have killed Snoop.
What he looked like, but I just saw the light-skinned face, right? And then I saw a gun come out of the window.
But while Snoop was dealing with his legal problems, something fascinating was also happening at Death Row. Tupac joined Death Row after Suge paid his $1.4 million bond in 1995 and became the frontman of the label. The beef with Bad Boy Records, which was on the East Coast, had also gotten worse, and Suge Knight's many troubles continually showed the label in a negative light. Tupac was unfortunately killed in 1996, and this further made things difficult for the label. Suge Knight had become incredibly difficult to work with, often being physically violent against rappers and producers. Dr. Dre had also grown disillusioned with the project, and he finally left in 1996 to form his own label, Aftermath Entertainment. The label had formerly been a united front that could transform hip-hop, but by 1996, it had dissolved into different groups. Snoop's second album, The Dogfather, got the green light in November 1996, just 1 week after the posthumous release of Tupac's The Dark Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory. Both albums achieved multi-platinum sales, and it was the last great thing the label ever did in the 90s. The next year, Suge Knight was arrested on grounds of violating his parole and eventually got 9 years in prison. As soon as this happened, Interscope withdrew their distribution deal with Death Row, and Nate Dogg, Corrupt, Daz Dillinger, and Snoop Dogg also walked out the door. Suge Knight then went ballistic on Snoop after he left and even threatened to kill him. Snoop eventually replied with a diss track called Pimp Slapped.
When you was doing time in Camp Snoopy with the fags and snitches, no killers, just bitches, and you was paying niggas off with all my riches.
After his release in 2001, Suge began to build the label back up again, but this failed so woefully that the label filed for bankruptcy in 2006 before eventually losing ownership. Ownership of the company moved to Wide Awake Entertainment, whose parent company also declared bankruptcy in 2012. This then moved the ownership of the company to Entertainment One in 2013. But this continual change of hands meant that the label was nothing like it used to be, and companies were just willing to get it off their hands. In February 2022, Snoop announced his takeover the label that made him, before eventually releasing his third studio album through the same label in 2022. In a 2022 interview with Tidal, he further revealed that he got all the rights for all the albums that were once released on the label, including his debut album.
I own Death Row, so I do what the fuck I want to do.
This takeover was slow and patient, and just the move the label needed. Since Snoop's takeover, he has returned most of these albums to streaming platforms after they were previously taken off. In his statement, the Godfather said, "I am thrilled and appreciative of the opportunity to acquire the iconic and culturally significant Death Row Records brand, which has immense untapped future value. Feels good to have ownership of the label I was part of at the beginning of my career and as one of the founding members. This is an extremely meaningful moment for me." But if you know anything about Suge Knight, then you already know this takeover didn't sit well with him. Behind bars, the former rap mogul has argued that Snoop's ownership of the label is illegal. But how? Well, he said this takeover was possible because the former financier of the label and convicted drug lord, Harry O, committed bankruptcy fraud, and this forced Suge to declare the label bankrupt. In a weird twist, Suge believes this bankruptcy was planned by Harry O and Snoop to help the rapper take over the company.
They committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong. They went in and a lawyer didn't show up, and they got a default judgment. I settled the judgment. They turned around and said I didn't settle the judgment, but they committed bankruptcy fraud, which we just found out for sure last week.
Suge has continued trolling Snoop, even claiming the rapper is gay and also a fake Crip. Is this a desperate need for attention from a man who threw the label away, or is there some truth in this? Well, let's see what you think in the comment section down below.